Well, good morning, everyone, and we're into October now. September is gone, and here we are. The time is moving on, but every day we rise is a great day to be alive. And welcome to Portsmouth Coffee Talks morning show. I'm James Slim Overton, and here with the Thomas the Colonel Chapman. And Leah might come on this morning. She might not. She had a really busy weekend, and leading up to the weekend, it was busy for her as well. And with the eighth Norcom Grand reunion, which was a great success over the weekend, had 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, ending up in church. And great people came home in town. They honored about 45 uh, alums, and it was amazing to see all the different things. And it was a few people that you already knew about, like local, Johnny Morrison, and others like that that have done some things. But they had it was surprising, well, not surprising to me, but as as a part of information, they had quite a few people that, and they was in a category by year. So they started in 1948 and came up to the present time, and each year had a few notables and amazing things they had done. We had one lady that was a Wilma that was on here, that was one of the notables that has a building in Hampton University named after her, a science building, which is a great achievement. I don't think any other alum has that. But it was amazing. So a lot of that you'll be able to see it on film. A lot of that was filmed, so I'm sure later on you'll be able to see most of that. It was quite interesting weekend, and shout out to the IC Northern Greyhounds, the Alumni Association, and all the people that came back and had a chance to see a lot of people you hadn't seen since high school. So it was a great time. It was a great time. Uh, so I have to applaud Leo and the staff that put that together. So I'm sure later on you'll be able to see most of that. It was quite interesting week. Okay, sorry. Um, we're here today, and the colonel is here, still uh, sort of nursing the throat. So if you don't hear too much from him, but I think he will not be able to resist saying some of the things if the subjects. And I want to start off by saying, I was watching the news, and isn't it amazing while you watch the news, not sports, you're watching the news. One of the leadoff stories was Taylor Swift being at a football game, and this is the news, not ESPN, the sports, and all the attention it's getting just her being at the football game. And I have to wonder if that's sort of like an arrangement they have because uh, Travis Kelsey, his jerseys has gone up 400%. And, if you're watching the game, the attention goes up to the booth where she is. And what do you think about that, Thomas? I mean, that's just, I guess, us, all the other things that are going on in the country and the world. That's a big story.
Well, that's the value of celebrity.
Yeah.
But
And,
on the flip side, the right hates it.
yeah.
They hate it. They hate
Yeah.
it.
Well, it's what it is, and it's there. I just thought it was kind of interesting. So let's get into all the different things that are going on. We avoided the shutdown, and it's amazing. Like when we get to this point every year, when it comes down to the showdown, that it usually, well, we had a few times where it did shut down for a few for some days, and the people workers suffered from that. But they, it's like they posturing, and playing with people's paychecks, and I think, is the entire military considered essential workers, where they will be exempt from if it was a shutdown, or it's just a few people in the military?
Well, it depends because they passed the Defense Authorization Act that paid the military.
Okay.
Only reason they got paid.
Okay, so I mean, I thought that was kind of crazy if it affected military, but it would have affected a lot of other people. And you know, and the whole drama behind everything with the Speaker of the House, McCarthy, and then you got Matt Gaetz up there saying now because he didn't follow, you know, their suit, and he got several Democrats to come to his side to make sure this thing was passed. Even though the Democrats didn't get in everything they wanted now, but they realized this is a temporary thing, so it still can be negotiated for 45 days until it comes up again. So they say, okay, Ukraine is out. So, you know, but we want to make sure they were more interested, I think, in making sure that we didn't have a shutdown. And the other side, you know, was just wanting to hold up. I think they wanted a shutdown. And then when it came down, McCarthy didn't do it. Now they want him out. And that was the reason they set up that bill in the beginning when they came in, that one person can bring up um, you know, can bring it up where they can, you know, take him out.
Yeah.
And it's ironic that that person is Matt Gaetz. You know, it's a guy that's had this questionable moral, you know, morally, and many other things. And it's just amazing to me how these people can that have asterisks beside their name can come up there and make all these you know accusations and you know try to spearhead some things, and you know as they say in the legal field, and they don't have clean hands.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know,
He's Gates is a sexual predator,
yeah,
unindicted, because they had the goods on him, but the girl that was supposed to testify, they bought her off, allegedly bought her off, and that's how the only reason she got off.
yeah,
She,
yeah, and probably still doing whatever he was doing in the beginning. You know, those guys don't stop because they get off. Oh, I got off, I better stop. But that's just ironic. But excuse me, it wouldn't matter whoever it was that brought that up. You know, it's just like crybabies. I don't get, we don't get what we want, so we're gonna take out the Speaker of the House. And I saw in the news too, if he's successful in do that, Matt Gates doesn't have the votes to put another person in right away. So that means we won't have a speaker, you know, because and then it's going to come down to are the Democrats, if they go to a vote, are the Democrats going to save McCarthy? Uh, I would think they would because I guess anybody else that might come behind him could be worse.
yes, it's the whole Republican Party is bad, and Gates and Marjorie Taylor Greene do nothing for this country other than support Trump, and they're doing everything. You go back to the Ukraine issue because Trump doesn't want Ukraine to succeed because they wouldn't tell a lie
Mhm.
in the 2020 election. If you vote, a vote against Ukraine funding is a vote for Putin and the Russians.
Right.
It really boils down to pennies on the dollar. The Ukraine army or the military has degraded the Russian military more than anything that we had ever hoped for. So every Russian they kill is one Russian we don't have to kill. That's the bottom line. And then so if you now you want to save money and not give them money, that means you are siding with the Russians no matter what. And so that tells you whose side you're on. You're either on the side of America or you're on the side of our adversaries.
Yeah,
Bottom
and Colonel, it's amazing. You know, the United States over the years, the history of the United States, and why they have been for so long a leader in the world, because they always been able to step in and help countries. You know, maybe sometimes they stepped in where they shouldn't have, but you know, for the most part, you know, their humanitarian efforts globally is something that makes sense in a lot of cases because it can come back and affect, you know, if they don't, things could come back and affect us here in the States, which is why they're supporting Ukraine because of the Russian factor,
Yep.
you know, and so And then we got, the Republicans fighting against, us supporting to say, if Trump wants to keep everything here, wants to, just do away with foreign policy, and foreign policy has always been a part of our government, the way we operate, and it has to be. We cannot survive in this world without having some diplomats all over the world, and having some kind of foreign policy that we follow. And if he gets back in there, he'll cut all that off. We don't need that, but we do. We do need that, because, and you see all the other large countries going throughout the world, and making putting their stake, especially everybody's going to Africa.
President Donald Trump hit the campaign trail this weekend ahead of a day in court tomorrow in New York for a.
Anyway, I'll get to that later. But yeah, so it's just so puzzling, and that's why I brought up that story about Taylor Swift, because it's stories like that that sort of get my goat, or stories like that, and shows that garner all this national attention when we have all this other stuff going on, and then you be around and talk to people and realize how uninformed they are. I mean, you don't have to be up on all the things, in detail, but some of the basic news stories that will affect you, you should have some knowledge of it. And if the conversation is all around, the celebrity thing, and like you said in the beginning, that's the privilege of celebrity, and it's always been that way as well. But at some point, we have to pay attention to what's going on, because it's like we always say, it's going to trickle down locally when you go to vote locally.
Yes. Joint Chiefs of Staff General Milley just retired, and he told it like it is. Donald Trump is a wannabe dictator. If American people allow him to get back in office, he will be our dictator for life.
Yeah.
You will not have democracy anymore. We won't have to have this show anymore, because if you talk about Trump after he takes off,
they're coming after you.
You are subject to be arrested. Black folks, he has already called y'all. He said all black folks are riggers. That's R-I-G-G-E-R, substituting the R for an N. He has showed his stuff in the last regime, the last 4 years, that he doesn't care for minorities. But if he's learned how to wield the levers of power, let him get back in. You think the 40s and the 30s were bad? We are going back to that, when they'll hang you, legally, if he comes back in office. You won't be able to come outside anymore and look somebody of a Caucasian in the eye anymore. You'll be Emmett Till everywhere, legally.
Yeah, and how, and you as a career military officer coming out at the rank of major, decorated major, when, how would you feel? How do you feel about, Trump just being able to threaten a general? And they brought it up, and he did that before the debates, the Republican debates, which is a farce. And no mention was made of that. Who does that? But especially a decorated general like that is would give his life for his country. And he just makes that statement. He can say anything he wants to, and I guess we've been seeing this, and at some point we hope that something's gonna stick, with all these indictments, and I guess sometimes you got to, like New York, and we'll talk about that later. You got to go for the money, go for the bucks.
Yeah.
And, New York is one of the states, because he lived there so long. They're the people that really know him, that know the true Donald Trump. That's why he's living in Florida now, because when everybody else was being snowed by him, New York knew the deal.
Yeah.
They knew the real Donald Trump. But
Mhm.
back to him just threatening a general. I mean, as a matter of not just of a politician or a former elected official, but anybody making that kind of statement to a general. And just like you said, you couldn't, that's like a dictatorship country, where people make those kind of statements and off with the head.
Yep. Yep. Um, I wish the court system would treat him like any average citizen and just put him behind bars and on for contempt for threatening people. You and I, if we did what he's doing, we'd have been locked up a long time ago. That's what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Get about the First Amendment rights, because there are parameters to it, but you cannot go out and threaten people,
Judges,
judges, jurors,
AGs, jurors.
You can't do that. Nobody else can get it. It's a mob. He's a mob boss mentality.
Yeah, and the longer he gets away with it, the more he's going to do it. And you can threaten these contempt charges until you do it. Till you do something, that's not going to stop. And you come on there and say, okay, we filed something in the court to say to shut him up. And I don't see him backing down at any of this stuff. So at some point, somebody's going to have to do something, because the more, and it's going to get worse. Anybody that indicts him or comes after him, they're deranged.
Civil fraud trial. CBS
is doing that. They're deranged, and when you get somebody, even people in everyday life, where the person is always the victim. At some point, you got to start looking at that person, because you can't be the victim everywhere.
Yeah.
So, but that's his. It works with his base. So why stop? If it's working with your base, with the people that you depend on their votes to get out there to keep you in there. So why stop doing what's working with them? Forget everybody else if it's working with your base and with the other people that are sitting in Congress right now.
Yeah.
That have a vote.
Yeah. Well, that's until the justice system grows a set. One of them judges grows a set and locks him up. And you can keep him safe because he has Secret Service, put him in a cell by himself and take away his megaphone and lock him up.
Indeed. And what about, and I'll get back to Trump. I want to play something about his New York deal and him having to go to court sometime this week, and we'll see how that pans out. But the Biden impeachment debacle, who goes to that kind of national stage as unprepared as what we saw with that debacle, and especially who does something like that when you're trying to figure out how to keep the country from shutting down. Diversion, because they had absolutely nothing. Even their fellow Republicans said this is baseless.
I know, but like Hitler says, if you say it enough, as many times as you can do it, then it becomes true to the weak-minded. And so that's why every time you talk about it, they always say about the Biden crime family. But they know nothing about the Trump crime family, because they're proven that they're a crime family. And they have nothing on him. Hunter done his bad things, but that was it.
Yeah. I mean, it was really crazy. And, like you said enough and people believe it. So by the time you go to a hearing and you have nothing and look crazy, people half the people not even watching that anyway. So all they're hearing is those sound bites about the Biden family and stuff like that. So I'm gonna play this, and I hope you all can hear it. This report, and people know about it. Just want to play it so to give us something to talk about here about what's going on in New York with Trump.
Well, former President Donald Trump hit the campaign trail this weekend ahead of a day in court tomorrow in New York for a civil fraud trial. CBS's Skylar Henry joins us now with what the outcome of the trial could mean for his political future and business empire. Skylar?
Hey, Tarika, good to see you. Well, the former president is expected to be in the same courtroom as the judge he insulted on social media. His legal team failed to get this trial delayed until next year. Now prosecutors are seeking $250 million in damages, in addition to trying to prevent the former president and his sons from running any businesses in New York. Former President Donald Trump hit the campaign trail in southeast Iowa Sunday and went on the attack.
Every time the radical Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor.
A civil trial to determine.
Yeah, I just wanted to play that part, especially the part when it got to that point.
Yeah,
his frame of mind with all this going on, that's where he stands. Every time, it's a badge of honor for him. Things that normally going on that would be an embarrassment to others or shame, walking the hall or walk the halls of shame. It's a badge of honor to him.
Yeah.
And I can see why it is, because he's all over the news. And I guess you can't help it. If you news, you news, but that's the way it is. And
yeah.
I don't know. And the question came up, should he be allowed, just because he's leading that much, to skip the debates? Is there any kind of ruling that could change to make sure, if you're a candidate, you at least have to show up to debates, even if you're leading in the polls. So the polls is not, all the way scientific, but it gives you a sort of an indication of where you are. But still, because even if you're leading in the polls, the American people need to know your positions on certain policies and things like that. So, which is he can't do. So, but should he be allowed to skip the polls altogether?
Well, the RNC needs it. It should have come out with a rule that saying, if you don't participate, then you can't. We're not going to support you. You can't. We're going to support somebody who is in here debating, but they won't do that. And then so he'll probably skip the debates with Biden if he thinks he can win without debating.
Yeah, that definitely should be a no, skipping that, because that's, you're talking about the national and general election. Then people have to decide between the two people, and his base already have their mind up, but it still might. I don't know. Yeah.
He's already done it. He did it once last time. And only debated the other two times because he was losing in the polls. But now that he's tied nationally, then he may try to pull that off again. So if I was the other Republicans, I would say one of y'all run as a third party and only run in blue and red states to take red votes away from him, to make him lose nationally if he doesn't show up again.
Yeah, if that clown show of the Republican candidates debates, they had any sense, but most of them are supporting him anyway. They're just talking. Some of them, like Christie, they're talking that, but as soon as he becomes the nominee, they're going to be right behind him, like they did, like Christie did before. But if they were true and thought that someone could be better than him, they would come together and put all those percentages they have behind whoever they thought, even if it's Nikki Haley, behind her, because she seems to be the strongest. She's probably the only one up there that's right now going against him, although I think she would turn around and support him again too.
Yes,
but
she
she's
is.
the only one probably talking policy or talking against him. All Christie is doing is calling names, and he doesn't even have a, he got a nerve to be calling somebody a name. He just sets him up for Trump to come back with something crazy about him.
Yeah.
You know, but Nikki Haley, but everybody else is up there. And you got your favorite person, Scott, making those ridiculous comments about slavery and fathers not being in the home.
Yeah.
Without any, professional basis behind it. Just some crazy, you know, please, he's saying what they want him to say.
Yep.
That's what it comes down to.
He is their affirmative action candidate. Nikki Haley doesn't have a chance because Republicans won't vote for a woman anyway.
Yeah.
So they got to get a white male.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because, like I said, she's probably the best candidate up there, but they're not gonna, and Trump, Trump has already said, he hinted at first he might get one of those people. Now he's saying none of them will be his vice president.
Right. So that they should turn their guns on him now.
Yeah. But they won't do that either because, and I don't see why, if you're polling at 1% or in single digits, what have you got to lose to go after him? You're not getting his base.
Yeah.
Now, I just don't understand the reasoning. And these supposed to be learned and smart people, they've gone to prestigious universities and cover stuff. But I guess, money and power can sort of do some strange things to your psyche.
Yeah, you got that right. Got that right.
Let me see what else. But I mean, what's going on here? But I mean, we could talk about him all day. And but and thanks for asking that question because I was wondering if the military would be cut off if they shut the, because we're still looking at another shutdown. Because they got 6 weeks or 45 days or something like that to go through this all over again.
Yes.
So
people need to understand what the Republicans want. They want a cut of 8% in domestic spending. That means 8% cut out a SNAP. That's your food stamps. 8% cut back in Meals on Wheels. 8% in the housing voucher program. Meaning all those folks in Section 8, you're either going to be thrown off or have an 8% increase in your share of what you pay for your housing, and so on and so forth. But more white folks is going to suffer than they think black folks is going to get suffering. But that's what they want.
Yeah, and along with that, Colonel, the student loan freeze is ending. Yeah. And all those people that had that moratorium got to start paying those student loans back, and the average person owes about $37,000 on average, and of course many owe, and some professions owe a lot more than that, and so they squashed what Biden was trying to do, get some relief there, and so now that's ending. So the people, a lot of his people, gonna have to bite the bullet on that one as well. The student loans.
People understand that he has tried everything under the law and has been struck down by Republicans at the court. The other piece is, yes, you owe this money. Most of it is owed by these private for-profit schools that you get a degree or you just go and you get this extra money in loans to live on, and with no appreciable degree or a degree that's not worth anything. That's most people out there. Yeah, you were foolish to get that. Obama tried to stop that, but the Republicans stopped him from saying that. What needs to happen is the federal government needs not to loan these for-profit schools any money. And you just have to, if you want to go to ECPI or some of these other crappy schools, you have to pay for it yourself. And the other thing too, if you want to get student loan repayment, if you, I think there's a program, this company is online saying you can consolidate your loans. That loan in the private sector is no longer eligible for a student loan repayment from the federal government. So you need to watch and study.
Yeah, and make sure.
One.
Yeah. Those government-backed student loans, they will come after you, and they have the garnishee power. So
it's the private ones are the bad ones. That's the high interest and everything.
Yeah, the high interest.
Yes. So stay away from the private sector. And make a payment, try to do something. You don't want to go on default. Because I see TikTok and where they're trying to have all these moratoriums, trying to, what do you call it? We're not going to pay them, all this other stuff. We're going to boycott loan payments. That is the most stupid thing in the world. Pay something.
Yeah, they still gonna get you. They're not gonna stop their collection process because it's more people stopping payments. And like you said, pay something. Pay something. And in most cases, that shows some kind of earnest effort that you're trying, and and you can show them, if it comes down to, you having to show them, well, this is what I make. This is all that comes into my household. Yeah. And I have other, I got to keep the lights on. I got to keep my health bill. So, but here's $100, towards this. If it takes me longer, at least I'm showing the effort. Most companies will work with you, but some will still, like you said, some private companies, they don't care what your circumstance is. They're going to come after you. So, but definitely don't fall for that. Like you said, that let's get together and everybody stop paying, because it's going to affect a lot of different people in a lot of different ways.
Yes. During the moratorium, that is the time when you were supposed to pay off your loans because the money would have went to the principal. But then you stood out there, or a lot of people stood out there and got their nails done, bought cars, did whatever they wanted to do, still went out to dinner or whatever. They could have used that money to pay off or pay down on the student loan. And
that's crazy. That's good.
Sense.
Good advice. I want to get into some local stuff, but before we do that, Colonel, I want, with the strike, the writers' strike, and then you have the automotive strike and everything. And how do you feel when, because now we're seeing, it looks like Kaiser, the health care company, they're coming up on a strike, which could affect a lot of people that depend on that health care.
Right.
So, it's an advantage. I mean, it's definitely an advantage, with the unions, working for, because, whatever the union gets, even non-union people benefit from it. But when you have these successful strikes, is that a good thing? Because right after that, you see a lot of other people falling in line, which they might have been planning to do or trying to negotiate that anyway. But is it a good thing when you have these successful strike negotiations? Or, I think it's a good thing, basically, because it usually helps the workers. But what's the residuals, like other companies coming up and say, okay, that worked for them, let's go on strike as well.
If you're unionized, then that is the quickest way to get to the middle class, because you have pay and benefits and retirement and everything. And so you can use non-union labor. It's like you go down to South Carolina and buy a BMW. Mm-hmm. and it's non-union, or go to Tennessee, non-union. But I wouldn't buy a BMW because they're crappy unless it was built overseas. Because non-union get the uneducated and the worst folks out there that take those jobs. Unionized folks, if you put up a building and you use unionized labor, you know that that kid has gone through an apprenticeship and is qualified to put the electricity in that building.
A lot of that certification and things like that are mandatory if you're part of a union.
Non-union is not. So you
Right.
get Mo that is learning see one, do one, teach one.
Mm-hmm.
You go with a union shop, every time that it may be more expensive, but you get a better product, and you're not going to spend the next 3 to 5 years trying to repair stuff that could have been put together in the beginning. Right.
Yeah. So I agree with what the unions do, and because I was just playing the devil's advocate there for a minute to see, how that affects, other companies that want to come up and do the strike and do the same thing. But it's strange, I'm not even going to mention Trump anymore. I started to say something about his speech to non-union workers that will benefit anyway from whatever the union workers got. So he's talking to people that, that was just forget about Trump for the moment. But go ahead.
Look, that was not to non-union folks. There was nobody in the union or non-union. They were all Trump supporters, paid, and some of them paid to go in there and hold signs.
Mm-hmm.
A real rally. There were just some Trump supporters in there.
It's just something staged, huh?
It was staged,
like most of his rallies, because he knew he couldn't compete. Nowhere in the world they wouldn't have accepted him coming down there on the line. He probably would have gotten booed.
He's anti-union.
Yeah,
he spent 4 trying to bust the union.
Yeah, and with his history of that, so that's why it's sort of hypocritical for him to be talking like he's talking now. But people have short memories, But that's why you have to educate yourself. Just go a little bit on the local scene and around here in Hampton Roads, because I think it's important for us to make sure people. It's good to vote early too. Get out there and vote early, but make sure if you're voting early, you're educated, because there's a lot of people that's trying to vote early and they really don't know, especially with the different precincts now, changes in the precincts in Portsmouth and in the other cities, and some cities are sort of entertaining, Chesapeake and Portsmouth. Some the candidates running are representing both, parts of both cities. So you have to be aware. So the precinct changes, and you might have in the past been able to vote, I'll just say, for Louise Lucas, and then you go to your poll this now, early voting or on election day, and your precinct doesn't have her name because the redistrict they have redistrict your precinct to someone else. And I'm not saying that person is not a good person to vote for, but you just have to be aware, because I saw somebody that tried to write a person's name in there, but that person, is not someone in that precinct. So it's several precincts in the city of Portsmouth that have changed since the last voting cycle. So just make sure you educate yourself about who you're voting for at your precinct before you go down there and be upset or not know who you're voting for, because the confusion that was called kind of done on purpose too, things like that to confuse the voters and just.
You're correct. And listen to the lies that are out there.
Yeah, I mean they're starting out nasty, and it's early, so we're gonna have to hear this stuff from you mentioned on our last show about Clinton Jenkins and the one they put out there, and I like how quick he came back with and his daughter did most of the talking, the one that they were accusing, in their video.
Yeah.
And she came back, and the whole family was sitting there, but she was doing the talking.
Yeah.
So you come back with with the horse, with the actual person, and I thought that was kind of effective. Sometimes people sit on that and let those lies linger on a little too long before before you approach it. And I think he came right back. I think that was a good strategy to do that, and he needs to continue to do that. But
Yes.
because they're gonna come back with something else. But seems like all they do now is digging for stuff to talk about what the other candidate, who their opposition, what they have done in their life. Like everybody is perfect,
Well, Emily,
and not talking about what they're gonna do or their policy or their platform.
well, Emily Brewer is even though she's a female, she's against abortion rights. She's wants to take your birth control to include regular old birth control away from you. She is anti everything for people. She is pro-gun, anti-woman, and anti-minority. And she put this one ad out talking about Clinton Jenkins, who is what you can call as a racial trope. She's also a racist. You can look at her campaign, and everybody that she has, got this bought and paid sheriff that's not really a sheriff up there. About we want to do supporting the men in blue, but she's against the men in blue, and so you have to look at that and read past that kind of stuff. You can look at the guy, I can't think his name, in Virginia Beach, where they're saying that he's an ex-Air Force guy. And I can't think of his name right off the top. But he's saying, yes, he voted against such and such, a vote against military pensions and everything. But he wasn't in anywhere to vote. He's running for office for the first time. Would you say he voted against such and such? So you just listen to the lies out there.
Yeah, just pay attention, and whatever you hear, look it up. I mean, it's a way to look it up and see if it's factual or not, And I respect the two-party system, even locally, Democrat and Republicans. And if you got a respectable or Republican that's running a respectable race, or quote some real policy issues and things like that, I mean, that's fair game. That's fair game. And then it's between the two to have those debates or to talk about what they would do about certain issues, mental health, abortion, and things like that. And then the people can decide. They'll be educated on factual information, not just I'm gonna go after this guy. Let me go downtown and see if I can dig up something where he slapped a teacher when he was in the 3rd grade, and then I'll bring that up as a part of my campaign.
Yeah.
And we should be fed up with this kind of political campaigning. Where and it started with our boy. That kind of and not saying it started with him, because it's always been out there where dirty campaigning could come into play. But he just came and just magnified it, and everybody seems to think that's the way to go. And in the meantime, the average citizen is sitting there not seeing you address anything that's important to them. But let's see if I get this guy enough, because he had maybe some court filings against him, when he was 17 years old.
Yeah.
And now he's 45 or 40 or 50, and it's just crazy. And locally, we need to be more astute than that, because it's going to affect you. These people in there for 4 years, delegates every 2 years, and the Senate 4 years. So you just have. I mean, and then they're making laws that's going to affect you down here local in Portsmouth, Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Suffolk, Hampton, Newport News.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't take it seriously and just believe everything we see because it's on TV, then it's going to be your fault when missing some things you might need in your neighborhood, or missing something in your check because they have raised taxes here and there. So
Yeah.
just pay attention and be aware. Listen to shows like what we have on here, because and as we go forward, we'll try to bring on people that political experts or people that just sit down and watch this stuff, so you can be more informed. And what we say most of the time is our opinion, but a lot of times what we say is based on what we have looked up. It's not something just off the top of our head.
Yes. Well, you mentioned about raised taxes. The fear is when they say, I'm going to cut a program or cut something to save money. That's when you see the difference in your check for Section 8. I'll use Section 8 housing. Or you don't get that heating assistance because wintertime is here. And they'll say, okay, I cut your taxes because we sued Dominion Resources. So you look on your bill and you see a credit for 25 cents. What is 25 cents a month going to, in a billing cycle, going to do for anybody? But I can say I cut your taxes.
Yeah, I can say I introduced a bill to cut your taxes, and I'm saving you 25 cents, which might drop out of your pocket when you're changing your pants on the floor and you never see again.
Yeah.
So,
or I cut the food tax, so you save me another 50 cents a month, or every 50 cent, maybe every 2 times I went to the grocery store. But you went up on something else because that 50 cents probably went to that road repair. So that pothole is not going to get fixed. So
it's just stay be aware, be informed, and be involved, like I always say, and make sure, because and everybody says this is a critical election, and every election is critical, so it's said a lot like this one is more important than the last one or something like that, but all of them are critical. So you can say that for every election that comes up, and it's critical enough for us. And more people are just stepping away from voting because of what they see, and that should be a motivating factor for you to get out there to vote. But some people see, well, nothing's going to happen, or they see all the craziness that goes on nationally and locally, and they say, man, this is nothing. We talked about some of the our local council meetings, not only here in Portsmouth, but all the other cities, and how crazy they can get. It's just, you see a lot of focus on Portsmouth, but you don't see many focuses on the other cities. But I'm sure if you take a look at it, a lot of craziness is going on there as well with the citizens. And a lot of people are getting discouraged and stepping back from voting and not knowing that they're really hurting themselves by doing that. You're never going to see a change if you just step back and say, I'm not going to vote because of the way the politicians are acting.
That's true.
Should motivate you to get out there and vote. And I want to say, Carl Sanders, I see all your comments, and you made quite a few. And I think what I might have to do is get in touch with you and probably bring you on as a guest, because it seems like you have a lot of things to say about what's going on. And I see him here, and we don't always have time to address it or sit here and read them all. But I will contact you and see if you might want to come on as a guest, because and we can get some opinions from you about how you feel about it. So if you get a chance, I think I'm a Facebook friend of yours, so I will get in touch with you. Try to schedule a time where you can come on and be a guest. Okay, we're getting close to winding down, and Colonel, I thank you for coming on and talking this morning. And I know, like you said, it's painful to talk. That just shows your dedication. I think that's You know, that military background you got, you just push on, you know, through whatever's going on. And when you could have just taken it easy, and I hope you take it easy after this and continue to rest your voice, because your voice is very important to this show. Your voice and your opinions and what you bring to this show. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate it even more that you came on this morning and talked through the pain, because I know how passionate you are about these subjects we bring up, and every subject that we have on here on Portsmouth Coffee Talk. So thanks a lot for that. Appreciate you.
All right.
Okay. So thanks everybody. It's about 7:23, but we're gonna excuse me, slide on out of here, and we'll see you Thursday.
Yeah.
For another exciting show, and we'll be looking for people, special guests to come on, and everyday citizens to come on and let us know how you feel, because a lot of times, if you want to know, get a pulse on the communities, talk to those people that are out there every day. And oftentimes we don't do that, and you'll be surprised at some of the solutions they might have that could solve some of these problems. People are out there, a lot of creative thinkers out there, a lot of people paying attention, but it's also a lot of people that aren't. So they're the ones that we want to reach and make sure at least that they're taking the time to educate themselves in what's going on politically, what's going on socially. You know, with the mental health thing, I think this month is breast cancer month, October, I believe.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we'll probably cover this month too. So just continue to stay tuned for Portsmouth Coffee Talk, and we'll bring you the information and as well as bring some experts on here that know a whole lot more about some of these subjects than we do. We dare not try to overstep our bounds of what we know. So we want to bring you the best information. So continue to watch Portsmouth Coffee Talk on Facebook and on our YouTube channel. We come to you live on both of those platforms. And make sure if you go to the YouTube channel that you like, subscribe, comment, and share. And you do the same thing on our Facebook page. So more people can see what we're trying to do here. But we appreciate the ones that watch. I have to say that when I was at the Norcom Friday night, a lady came up to me and said she watches the show all the time, and she even pointed out specific shows and the guests that we had. And I really knew. I was like, okay, you really are a watcher if you can be that specific with some of the shows that you watch. So we appreciate all of you that watch, and let your friends know and share it with your friends, and make sure that you watch Portsmouth Coffee Talk. And if you want to be a part of it, and if you want to support us, you see the information scrolling across the screen there. You know how you can support us through Cash App or through Zelle, or sending us a check in the mail. We need your support in order to continue to upgrade what we do here. So if you should be so kind, you feel free to support us, and we won't let you down. We'll bring you the best information with the best guests that we possibly can. We appreciate you. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Colonel, take care. We'll see you.
Okay.
All right. Take care of yourself, cuz.
Bye.